What's up, everybody? It is E-Rock and Gale here for our weekly webcast, the off season. And the reason we're doing this webcast right now is because, well, to be honest with you, we miss doing the show. We miss being at New Media Studios and being down there doing the Fourth and Jawn podcast during the season, taking your phone calls, talking some Eagles football. But one thing we really miss is your Twitter question, our boy Philly Mike's favorite segment. So what we decided to do this week is go on to Twitter and ask us anything about the Eagles, about the podcast, about us. So we took some of the best Twitter questions that we got today, and we're going to answer them for you. Are you ready, Mr. Gale Saunders?
I was born ready.
You were born. I like that answer.
Born ready.
I also like that microphone. Let me compliment you on that microphone. That is a solid, thick, girthy,
Mandingus.
mandingus of a microphone,
Hey,
sir.
it's quality right here. It's a quality mic. You know.
So let's get to our first Twitter question. It comes from @CleeDrew, CLEDREW. Asks, do you think that Pumphrey getting so much work in the slot is bad news for one Jordan Matthews?
I don't believe it's bad news for Jordan Matthews. I think it's great news for this Eagles offense. I think Pumphrey adds another element. A guy who can work the slot like a Cole Beasley type. He's not exactly a Cole Beasley, but he can offer that in the slot. He's also like a satellite back. The way they used backs in Kansas City. So I think he adds a nice little element to this offense that might be missing from this offense. But J Matt, I don't think it's bad news for J Matt.
No, you said that name Cole Beasley, and I had to crack a smirk because the hairs on the back of my neck standing up for that Joe Dirt looking bastard down in Dallas. Hey, listen, if he ends up being anything like Cole Beasley in the slot, the Eagles made an excellent pick with this kid. They told me, including you guys told me he was tiny. Told me he was small.
Right.
Not even like Darren Sproles statue. The first time I ever saw him in pads, as the beat writers were tweeting out pictures, I mean, I swear to God, it looked like, bring your kid to work day, and he was dressed up in a little Eagles uniform. This morning, I compared him to Ja Rule in cleats because that's what he looks like. as far as him being in the slot, where else are you gonna put him? I mean, he's so tiny. And this is coming from a guy who's not that big himself. He's so
Right.
little, itty bitty. I get it. He put up stats at San Diego State, but if he can work out of the slot, is kind of like you said, that's the satellite bat, maybe swinging on the outside. I think that's where he's going to get his work. I don't think it's bad for Jordan Matthews. I don't think that Pumphrey's going to steal Jordan Matthews' reps by any stretch of the imagination. But it doesn't hurt to experiment and see exactly what you have in this kid.
I mean, they've been actually putting Pumphrey and Sproles in the backfield at the same time, so that just think about that. Linebackers out there in the NFL, who are you going to cover when that happens? But
Yep,
you know,
yeah, but at least Sproles is like, he's tiny, but he's stout.
yeah.
This kid weighs as much as I do.
But
You know
then,
what I mean?
like you really like the thing. He's getting hit with little sizism. You know what I'm saying? No one can talk about Pumphrey without saying his size. But
Sure.
if you just go back and watch some of his highlight stuff, I swear to God, I would. He is so like he is so like changing direction. He's brilliant, great
Okay.
vision. So I mean, he's gonna. Can you hit him? Is the question. Can you
Yeah,
tackle him in
yeah,
space? That
when
is the question.
when you got these big boys, these weight trained, diet trained, superior athletes in the NFL smacking you in your mouth. I mean, you can be as fast and shifty and as
Yeah.
dynamic as you want to be. Can you take a hit? So the answer to that question, I think, from both of us is no. It's not bad news for Jordan Matthews. Looking forward to seeing him in the slot. Moving on, at James Mac 12345 is funny question. Any possibility of trading Marcus Smith to Minnesota for a first round pick this year?
You probably could trade Marcus Smith for a bag of Skittles and a Diet Coke at this very moment. So No goddamn chance in hell.
Nah, look, as much as Howie Roseman is a magician, and we realize it's a goofy question and it's meant as a joke, I don't think Marcus Smith. Not only does he not have first round value, I'm not sure that any team would trade anything for him at this point. So if Marcus Smith is not an Eagle in for the 2017 season, it's not going to be because he got traded. It is going to be because he flat out got cut. Next question, Shake the Robot at Shake the Robot. I love some of these Twitter handles, by the way. Hunting trip, right? You're going on a hunting trip. Who are you going to go with? Carson Wentz or Fletcher Cox, and what is the reason?
Mm. I mean, I feel like Carson Wentz is the new toy. Yeah, I mean, he's the quarterback. He's the
Okay.
face of the franchise.
Okay.
I feel like I'd want to get to know uh, more about Carson Wentz, and plus he brings the camera crew with him. If you watched any of his hunting videos,
Oh,
'cause
you were such a camera whore.
so yeah, you can get some camera time. So you're gonna be on the next episode. Fletcher Cox does his he hangs out in the tower, and he's kind of like a loner type dude when he hunts. So I'll go Carson Wentz.
Well, I'm not a hunting guy. I'm a fishing guy myself. But if I was to pick one of the two, I'd pick to go with Fletcher Cox, only for the sole reason that okay, so while you're hunting with Carson Wentz, right? It's fun, it's good. Two guys just in camo, covered in deer piss, waiting for that buck. But what happens when the hunting's done and the sun goes down? Like I don't want to sit there by the campfire and sing kumbaya and recite Bible verses with Carson Wentz. I feel like Fletcher's the type of dude to like, all right, put down the shotgun and we're gonna pick up some barbecue down the road. I mean, he likes to do that off-road dude buggy and stuff like that. So it seems like it would be like not only just hunting, it would be other activities, and I don't have to put up with the AO1 Bible verse study by the campfire, creepy stuff like that.
No John 3:16. No.
No, no,
Okay.
no. There's none of that. None of that. Next question from Irish Whiskey. Again, love these Twitter handles. These are great. How do you think Blunt will do this year in our system, and why? Great question.
Mm. I think Blunt is going to have a solid season with us. I think you think about this Eagles offense, you think about where they struggle in the red zone, you think about getting short yardage, you think about Doug Peterson having to call QB sneaks with Carson Wentz, you think about those types of situations. That's where Blunt is going to take a big portion of a role in this offense. I feel like that's where he's going to succeed, especially down by the goal line. So obviously, it's going to be a nice for us. So
When they first signed LeGarrette Blunt, I thought to myself, this is a logical move, but it's really the only move that was left to be made. He was only the only really big, and by big I mean either A in name or B in stature, big running back out there on the market still available. And you don't sign a running back that late, especially after the draft. If you think about it, Pumphrey was an Eagle before LeGarrette Blunt was an Eagle. All right, so you don't sign that kind of guy for him to be your feature back going into the season. Now, here's a guy who had in 2016, he played all 16 games, 1,161 yards, and 18 touchdowns. There's a little bit of a Patriots effect there. You're playing on the Patriots. You're playing on a dynamic offense. You're playing with Tom Brady, who, they're going to keep the safeties back a little bit. So you got a little bit more wiggle room as far as running, and you're always going to be in the red zone because, hey, let's face it, it's the Patriots offense.
right.
Now, when they first brought him in, I thought he'd be a rotational guy, short yardage guy, goal line guy. And while I'm backing off that stance a little bit, because I don't think they're as high on Wendell Smallwood as I first thought. You take a look at his 2015 stats, and in 12 games, he has 703 yards and 6 touchdowns. And I think that would be an appropriate expectation with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think there's a 1,000-yard back on this team. I don't. I don't think that LeGarrette Blunt is a 1,000-yard back, not on the Patriots. Darren Sproles, just in size and stature and everything that tells you from his entire career, which, by the way, this might be his last year, tells you that he's not a 1,000-yard back. Smallwood, if I had to put an over-under for him, I think he's about a 500-yard back. And then you got Pumphrey, who we just mentioned in the slot. If he has combined through the air and through the ground, 600 yards, I'd be happy. So I don't really think that there's 1,000 yard back. I think he'd be a primary, if you can even call it that, running back. But I think 703 yards, 6 touchdowns is a reasonable expectations, which was exactly his 2015 numbers.
Yeah, I could dig it.
I can dig it.
I could dig
Listen, there's not going to be that bell cow on this team. Not this year. It's not going to happen this year. But if they use every single guy to their individual strengths, I think the Eagles can have a very effective run game, which in turn, with a healthy offensive line and nobody suspended Lane, is gonna take a lot of pressure off of Carson Wentz, and that's the ultimate goal here.
Plus, you think about we have receivers that can push the safeties back. We have uh, Alshon Jeffrey who can attract safety, so the safeties aren't going to be pushed up in the box. Gives us another ability to get more yards with those
Yeah.
safeties back. So
How many times during the season did we see both safeties like cheating up towards the linebackers,
they're eating
a
lunch
safety and a safety
in
in the
the
body,
box.
single high safety because they knew none of those guys could go deep. So not only does Blunt bring a different dynamic to the overall run game, but just simply having those offensive weapons on the outside is going to push those safeties back. And even still, Blunt can run over many a say. It's going to take 2 or 3 guys to bring down LeGarrette Blunt on every single carry.
Yes, sir.
Moving on, our good friend Beastwin, C Beastwin asks, would you trade J Matt? Also, what would you realistically want back? It's a good question.
Mm.
Eh.
Realistically, what would someone offer? I mean, they maybe a fourth if we're lucky, fifth, fourth. And I feel like in this, like for that, I'd rather keep him. I'd rather keep him and see what he could do with some real weapons on the outside. And then Ertz. I mean, I really think they could dominate in the seams, especially. Um, but is that worth the fourth round? Giving him a fourth round pick? I don't know. Because I don't know right now. I don't even know if Shelton Gibson is actually pushing for um, uh, to push anybody on this roster. So I feel like having J Matt there right now it just gives us some good depth and someone who's familiar with Carson Wentz. That's his guy right now. So
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at a guy like Jordan Matthews, and Eagles fans, whether it be on Twitter or YouTube, we all have a tendency, sometimes me just as guilty as anybody else, to kind of we talked about it before, overhyping our own guys. So you'll see things like Michael Kendrick stinks. Oh, let's trade him for a second. Well, if he stinks, why would they trade him for? Jason Kelsey, he stinks. Let's trade him for a second. The other teams have film on these guys too. They're watching the same games as you are. Jordan Matthews, there's some value there. Over the last 2 years, he's averaged 900 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's value. There's value in having Jordan Matthews, but what team in the right mind is going to give up any sort of quality draft pick for that? I've heard, well, if somebody goes down on an injury in training camp on some other team, like let's say there's a Teddy Bridgewater situation, even still, chances are that team has wide receivers that are now going to be expected to fill into the number 2 role because J Matt is a number 2. That's all he is. And that's why he struggled so mightily with the Eagles, is because you're asking Jordan Matthews, who's a 2. He's a 2. That's all he is a 2. You can't ask a 2 to be a 1. So if for some reason out there a 1 goes down, they're not going to give up a high draft pick to have a 2 who cannot perform as a 1, and it's been clearly obvious
would
in
you
Jordan Matthews.
would you say a 2B, borderline 3?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean,
But if
we
you
got Alshon, who's the 1, Torrey Smith, who's having a wonderful OTA at
right
the 2, and then who
now,
knows what you get from Nelson Aguilar.
when you think about J Matt, sometimes you think he's the best over the last year or so. He's been the best of the worst.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's a
saying?
good way. That's a good way of putting it.
So I mean, other teams could look at him saying, is he as good as he is, or was he the best of the worst, and he got all these touches?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen he's not a reliable pass catcher. He's trying to make some plays here and there, but there's plays that he's left on the field. So
Yeah.
our value for him, like I said, a fifth round, fourth round, maybe, is that worth?
Yeah, I'm right in that wheelhouse there. It's a fifth round. If Howie can work some magic, there's value there, but I think the value is better on this team. Not that I'm a big Jordan Matthews fan. Don't get it twisted. I'm not sitting here praising Jordan Matthews, but I think his value on the team is better with the rapport that he has with Carson Wentz and the value you would get back by some team who's willing to cough up a fifth. You mentioned an interesting name earlier, and then we'll move on. Is uh, Sheldon Gibson,
Yep.
right? Reportedly not having a great camp. They drafted him in the fifth round, correct?
It was fourth. Was it fourth round?
Was it? Well, okay, so
No,
let's
no,
say it
no,
was
no.
fourth.
Fifth round.
Okay, so it was a fifth round pick. They're not going to. I heard on the radio earlier. Well, there's an option for practice squad. Here's the thing about putting people on the practice squad. Every other NFL team has a crack at you before you sign on the practice squad with the Eagles. He has the option to go anywhere and make any other roster. And if he was drafted in the fifth round, chances are some other people had him on the board, ranked in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round, that would gladly scoop him up to fill in the back end of their receiving roster. So I think a practice squad is a dangerous game, especially with a fifth round pick. You invested a fifth round pick in the guy. You better put him on the bottom part of the roster just to save that draft pick.
And Gibson was a pick. I don't know if you ever saw my GIF grades out there. It was one of those. I said, birds take a shot on a vertical threat with special teams ability. Weapon for Wentz with dropsies. And
And that's exactly what he's showing in OTAs. People are saying, yeah.
I
People
mean,
are saying he's not ready.
that's the thing that I was like, ugh. Remember, I was like not crazy about some of the picks.
Yeah, that was one of them.
Fifth, I thought there were some other players on the board that they could have looked at, but
At the
vertical
end of the
threat,
day, yeah,
vertical threat. That's what they're looking at.
at the end of the day, you invested a fifth round pick in the guy,
Mhm.
so you have to put him on the bottom part of the roster. You have to have him
Right.
on the 53. You just have to. You have to. Whether it's a mistake or not, you drafted the kid. You have to. You can't risk putting him on the practice squad. Moving on. Good friend of the show, Dustin Troxel, right? At Dustin Troxel.
My man.
Wait, our boy down at Bmore. What can us fans do to make Mr. Lurie feel like he's on the hot seat as the owner?
What can we do as fans not to put him in the hot seat?
To make him feel like he's on the hot seat,
Like,
as if he didn't own the team.
well, he did show some ownership with the 53 angry men going in there, getting rid of Chip Kelly. But like, I had posted a couple of videos a while of fans leaving the stadium. Like when
Yeah,
you see fans going down the staircase at the end of the third quarter, if they Eagle fans know when there's a bad product on the field, and I think that hurts his pockets. You don't show up, you leave, you embarrass, the organization that way is by not showing up and. You hit him in the pockets. You stop buying jerseys.
yeah. The answer Dustin's question here. He's the owner. You can't do a whole heck of a lot to make him feel like he's on the hot seat because there is no hot seat for the owner. What you can do is stop showing up to games, but the Eagles are a diehard fan base. They're not the Miami Dolphins. They're not the Los Angeles Chargers. They're not trying to sell season ticket plans right now via Twitter advertisements. They pack the stadium even when times are bad. That stadium's three-quarter full,
Mm-hmm.
and he for as much good as he's done as an owner, building the NovaCare complex, getting us Lincoln Financial Field, hiring Andy Reid, doing a lot of great times during the early 2000s, taking a shot on Chip Kelly, which didn't work out, but I don't blame the guy for taking a shot on Michael Vick when it was a very unpopular opinion. The guy wants to win. I don't. What one of my fan pet peeves is that Laurie just cares about money. He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't care about fans. All that's bullshit. The man cares about winning. He cares about the community. The Eagles are one of the most active NFL teams in the community. But at the end of the day, if you're unhappy with the product on the field, you don't show up. And that's going to be a hard thing for any of us to do. So him on the hot seat, I know he feels disappointed in the way things have gone as of late with Chip Kelly and this first year of Doug Peterson. But, he's going to keep plugging along. He's going to keep plugging along. If there's one thing, go ahead.
Or you make a fix-it video.
Or you you make a fix it video. And let Jeffrey Norrie know that Chip Kelly's got to go. And I guess he listened to your boy E-Rock. He saw E-Rock leave the stadium, make a video that got millions of hits, and said, you know what, that kid knows what he's talking about. I'm going to go ahead and axe this chubby Porky Pig looking bastard
Yeah.
and, move on. You could just listen to E-Rock. You could
There
just
you go.
hire me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just saying. At Big Shirley, 1979, a frequent tailgater at the 4th and Jawn tailgates, asks, when will they stop the Rocky theme at the link? Gale.
Some fans out there don't like it. Since I've been, in the last 2 years, finally going to games live, I can't be one of those fans who've been there for the longest. And having the theme, I like Rocky, the movies, so I get amped up. I don't know about you.
I was very indifferent about it. Didn't care either way. Knew that Rocky was, a cultural icon to Philadelphia, thing, the Philly Juju. And then it became kind of a popular thing amongst the cool kids on Twitter to like stop playing the Rocky stuff. And I noticed that, but I still didn't think anything of it. And then that one Giants game where Cop Pizzle was with me. And one of the things he turned to me and he goes, man, you guys sure do love the Rocky music. You play it in the beginning, you play it on third downs, you show clips during the commercial breaks. Yeah, and he was loving it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
He thought it was cool. But at that point, I really started to pay attention. I'm like, God damn, they do a lot of. And the Rocky thing, almost now, I don't want to say I'm sitting at the cool kids' tables with everybody else saying this is stupid. But when you look back at it, Philadelphia shouldn't be known for cheesesteaks and Rocky. That pisses me off. As a former resident of that city, that is one of the most culturally diverse, artistically explosive, one of the best music cities, music scenes in the United States. Um, one of the most artistic, beautiful, multicultural. I keep saying it over and over again. And not only that, but the historic importance of the city of Philadelphia. It's the birthplace of the nation. It's the birthplace of democracy. It's the birthplace
Of the NFL draft.
of the NFL draft, of the American flag. It's just to be narrowed, to be pigeonholed in the Rocky, like a fictional boxing character who it just I'm getting a little worn down with the
Okay.
Rocky stuff. We need to switch it up. But good question, Cheryl. I like that. Tight 732 at Tight 732. This was a question posed to the BGN boys, and he prefaced it by saying this, and I'm glad he brought it up because it's an interesting question, and I think you and I are going to have different takes on it. Would you, Mr. Gale Saunders, still be an Eagles fan if you knew 100% that they would never win a Super Bowl? Now, let me clarify this before we move on. You've got a magic genie. You've got a fortune teller. Jesus Christ comes down for the clouds, taps you on the shoulder, and says, guess what, pal? The Eagles will never, ever win a Super Bowl. Are you still going to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan?
You bet your sweet ass I'm going to be a Philadelphia Eagle fan. Just in my nature, in my blood, I'm a loyal type of person. I feel like I'm a blue collar, hardworking American. Um, Eagles, the city of Philadelphia, represents me to a T. You can't get more passionate fans. I'm a passionate person. Everything I do is passionate. So it doesn't matter. I'm loyal, and the fan base is the kind of fan base I want to be around. They're the type of team I want to root for. So no, I'm not rooting for anybody else. It's right here.
I've been a season ticket holder since Veteran Stadium. I've sat in the cold, in the rain. I sat through heartbreaking NFC Championship games. I sat through NFC Championship game where we went to the Super Bowl. I was there for 4th and 1. I was there for the Lomas Brown game. I was there for the heartbreak and the sadness. And year after year, I do the last game of the season shuffle out of Veteran Stadium or Lincoln Financial Field, and I put up with the misery because in my heart of hearts, I know that when the Eagles eventually do, and it will happen, it will. Someday it will. When the Eagles finally win a Super Bowl, it'll make it that much sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
You can't appreciate victory until you have gone through the tough times, which pisses me off about Boston fans. These little asshole Boston fans that are 15, 16 years old thinking that every other year they're going to win a championship. They don't know what hard times are. Philadelphia Eagles fans know what hard times are because when they win a Super Bowl, it'll be that much sweeter. It'll mean that much more to us. All that being said, if Jesus Christ comes down and taps me on the shoulder and says the Eagles will never win a Super Bowl, let's go Flyers. I'm out. I'm punching out. I'm punching out. And you know me. I am the most diehard of diehard. I live, eat, breathe. I'm there. I'm not some guy talking about it on YouTube on the other side of the country. I'm not some radio host that never shows up to the games. I live, breathe, sweat, sleep, dream, eat Eagles football. If it was for nothing,
Yeah.
I am punching out. I'm done. I'm done. But I have hope that they someday will win a Super Bowl.
There you go.
Now, obviously, that's never going to happen. Jesus is never going to come down and tap me on the shoulder. And chances are, if Jesus does come down and tap me on the shoulder, it's lights out for me. That's commit.
So you don't do.
Kaput.
We don't do hypotheticals, is what you're saying.
Well, the BGM boys, when they were posed with the question, especially our boy James Seltzer, and we love the BGM crew, and my good friend James Seltzer said, the fan in me wants to say yes because we're diehard and we're loyal, and I've been there when other people wouldn't even show up because the team was so lousy and all that, and that is true. That applies to me as well. But they both agreed that look, you're in this to win a championship, and if you know 100% that there is no championship, what's the point? What's the point? Why are we doing this?
My whole life is revolved around around the goddamn Eagles. So
Yeah.
without the Eagles, I don't know what I'd be as a
But
person.
could you walk into that stadium in the beginning of the season? Could you invest your emotion, your time, your energy, knowing it's never going to go anywhere? It's never going to happen, dude. And
It's,
it will.
hey,
It will.
there's still moments where I feel 100% alive watching a football game, watching
Let's
it,
go Flyers.
watching Sheldon Brown run
Let's
through
go
Reggie Bush. I
Flyers.
get moments.
Moments.
I like that.
Okay, moving on.
Yo, that was a deep ass question, though. It's a deep
That's
ass.
deep.
That's pretty deep.
That's deep. Because I would be bitter about it. Right here we are jumping right back in the question. I'd be bitter about it. I'd be bitter about sitting in the cold and the rain and going through all this misery and all this heartbreak. This shit keeps me up at night, bro. You know what I mean? And then, hey, by the way, it's never going to happen. Oh, I'd be heartbroken. I'd be so angry. But moving on. Excellent question. Moving on. And if I'm mispronouncing this, I apologize. Gianfranco, Gian Franco. The game both of you are looking forward to most this upcoming season.
I probably say the first game of the season is versus the Redskins.
Okay. Season opener.
I mean, we've lost 4 in a row to the Redskins. I feel like you watching the Eagles get over the hump tells me that they're finally headed in the right direction. Um, Especially in the NFC East. So I feel like they beat the Redskins. Things are starting off the right foot.
Okay, I'm actually looking forward to three of them, and I'm having trouble picking which one I'm looking forward to most. Number one is the home opener, week 3 against the New York Giants. That
Yeah,
tailgate's going to be off the chain. I mean, you got it's September game. It's at 1 o'clock. It's going to be warm. People are going to be drinking. It's against the New York Giants. That's going to be amazing. Secondly is the Christmas Oakland Raiders game. As much as it's going to pain me, as much as it's going to pain me to leave the family behind on Christmas to go down and watch the
goddamn
Eagles.
dirtbag.
Yeah, and dump the kids off
Hole in the stocking.
with jacket. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna get cold, and we might get cold. I mean, that Oakland Raiders team is going to be pretty good. Um, I'm also looking forward to that Rams. Oh, that Rams game, December 10th, when I go out there and party it up with the Green Legion. If you're thinking about doing an away trip, please take a look at the Green Legion website. Plan your away trip. Come with me. If you're on the left coast, you can buy what's called the entertainment package, which brings you to the Saturday night pep rally. The morning they rented out Santa Monica Pier for the pregame festival, which I will be DJing. I'm going to be DJing Santa Monica Pier, man. That's going to be a highlight of my DJing career, and also a highlight of the whole entire season, going out there and seeing you guys on the West Coast. Please check them out. GreenLegion.com. Great packages. Highly recommend it. Jacob Fulkerson, our boy, our writer at the J Fulkerson. Do you think the Eagles will move on from Ryan Matthews before the preseason? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I think that.
he's got to pass that physical, and then if not, if he doesn't pass physical, I feel like you can do that injury settlement thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what's coming. Barring any catastrophic, Darren Sproles goes down, LeGarrette Blount gets hurt, something that happens in training camp. And I'm not, I don't want to fucking jinx it,
He
but
just did.
please don't bring this back up. Please don't post this on Twitter. Don't isolate this and post it on Twitter if it happens. But barring any catastrophic injury, I don't see why they would keep him around. Take him off the books. At Dan _A_ Eagles fan, good friend on Twitter. Interesting question. If you were stranded on an island, would you rather be stuck with a girl that's top half fish or bottom half fish? Let me answer this, because this question, he posed it on Twitter in the morning, and I've been thinking about it all day, and I have an answer for you. All right, I have to pick the girl who's top half fish, or I'm sorry, top half real person, bottom half fish. Reason being is because I want to be the first dude to hook up with a mermaid. Never happened before in history. All right, I want to be that first dude to actually hook up with a mermaid. And I know that it's going to make certain physical things a little messy, because you know how fish breed, right? They go and they spray their eggs, and then the male fish goes and they spray the sperm. And I don't want to listen, I'm not judging about what you're into, but I don't want to spray anything on anybody. All right, plus if she's top half like female, bottom half fish, she can still give you good top. She can do that. If she's top half fish, then what's going to happen? What is she going to give you? Good gill? Oh, my girl gives me that good gill. That sloppy gill. I absolutely love it. Plus, how are you supposed to bang a girl that's top half fish? I mean, how are you supposed to bang a girl with that fish eye looking at you and her mouth just going like, I mean, how are you supposed to do that with her breath smelling like bait? That's going to stink. I don't care if she has Nicki Minaj's ass before it deflated. The top half fish would be disgusting. Give me a grown up 18-year-old version of Ariel from The Little Mermaid, and I think I could have a nice little island vacation there.
Yeah. Wow.
I've thought way
Wow.
too much. I've thought way too much about this today.
Just gonna mic drop it on that one. I feel like I can't really say anything after that. I think E handled that question masterfully.
Yeah, don't judge. Don't judge.
Judge.
Isolate that, because that's going to be a good thing to post on Twitter
Wow.
right there. So thank you, Dan. Thank you for the awkward fish conversation there.
Moving forward, shall we?
Moving forward, at CM Eagles fan asks, will the Eagles win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years? And if so, is Doug Peterson the head coach?
The Eagles will win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, and Doug Peterson will not be.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, when you have a rookie head coach and he handcuffs himself to a rookie quarterback, and that's why I thought it was so important to move up last year and draft Carson Wentz. That's what you're hoping. Because all right, 5 years from now he'll be in the sixth season. That's when you really start hitting his stride. That's when McNabb really started grasping what it was to be a quarterback, and he became a pocket passer. And as long as they continue to surround him with the weapons and the support that he needs, as far as the coaching staff, you hope that this is the start of what eventually ends up being a Super Bowl run, and I don't ever have to worry about Jesus coming down from the sky and telling me that they're never going to win a Super Bowl, and I don't have to worry about checking out on the team. But is Doug Peterson the head coach? 5 years is a long time, man. 5 years is a long time. I would hope so because I think coach quarterback development is of the utmost importance. You don't see many.
And
You
that's why you
don't
have
see.
John DeFilippo.
Yeah, yeah. That's why you don't see many quarterbacks when they're finally hitting their prime, getting a head coach switch. I'm trying to think of a quarterback who won a Super Bowl in his sixth year who had a new head coach, and I'm struggling to even think about one. Flacco, no.
Not Parcells.
Brady, no. Drew Brees was on his second team. That was kind of a unique circumstance, though. Peyton Manning won, but he's one of the all-time greats.
Holmgren? Yeah.
No, that was Favre, but they traded for Favre way early. Yeah, yeah. I think
Uh,
the head coach and that kind of chemistry is of the utmost importance. So I hope so, and I hope Doug's the coach. Not Ed Cool. Ed Cool, not Ed Cool. Dream concert lineup: 4 acts, one headliner. Go.
oh, I'm gonna go Tribe Called Quest. I'm gonna go
It's a good one.
Nas. I'm gonna go this electro band from Sweden, Little Dragon. I'm gonna go with Kendrick Lamar, and the headliner would be
Okay.
Stevie motherfucking Wonder.
Oh, I like the headliner. I like the headliner. Very well done. You know me. I'm not into a lot of bands that people heard of. I'm a DJ, so I'm into a lot of music. There's a lot of stuff on my iPod. But if you were just to search the E-Rock folder, it would be mostly beach stoner reggae rock. So my dream would be it'd have to be Sublime with Rome, Dirty Heads, 311. Uh, I'm not sure if I should admit this on camera.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm a closet No Doubt fan. Ugh, I'm a closet No Doubt fan. I like No Doubt. Uh, Gwen Stefani does it for me. And my boys from Kona, 311 would obviously headline the show. They're the biggest act, either that or No Doubt. But my boys from Kona, Pepper, every time they come to town, I meet up with them and we go backstage, and they're really a bunch of cool guys. One of the best, most highly energetic three-person bands that you will ever see. They have a good time. Every show is a party. Um, Kind of on that, they're from Hawaii, so kind of think on that beach rock, like reggae vibe, and it's always a good time with them. If you've never heard of or seen Pepper and you're into kind of Sublime, check them out. Highly recommend it. I like your Stevie Wonder pick, dude. I like that. That's solid. That's a good job by you. At Philly knows best. Do you think it's possible Aguilar replaces J Matt in the slot at some point this year? He ends the question with "not joking." So, do you think it's possible that Aguilar replaces J Matt?
I feel like he's got an opportunity to flourish in the slot. I feel like he does have an opportunity if Aguilar gets away from the mentals. I mean, if last year's Aguilar is no longer with us and this new improved lucky number 13 Aguilar steps up, I feel like he's got a shot. He's got a shot.
Aguilar needs a fresh start. I like the number change, although it was pretty much forced upon him once we signed Jeffrey. Um, he was a first round pick. He was thrown into the starting lineup and mentally just couldn't handle it. I think Eagles fans as a whole, now with the distraction of Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey being there and some of the additions at running back, Aguilar's almost an afterthought.
Mhm.
And that's where he needs to be. We don't expect a
Right.
lot from him. And in the process of not expecting a lot from him, it could just possibly be that he performs at his best. Now, OTAs, people have said he looks good. That's shorts and helmets, and I'm not real. I don't give a god. Good golly damn how Aguilar looks in shorts. I just don't. I don't care. Um, Training camp, he's always looked okay. So even if he looks good in training camp, I don't care. He's got to prove it, man. He's just got to prove it on the field. I'm not sure that J Matt will be here for the long term.
Mhm.
Maybe he gets traded. I'm sure that's another Twitter question coming up. So is a possibility if J Matt gets traded? Absolutely. If he outperforms him, absolutely. But I like the quattro of Eagles wide receivers that we have. Nice question. Philly knows best. At C_Fisher Keller. When will Sidney Jones return?
I think there is a slight chance. Yeah, I mean, if all goes well and everything looks perb with his Achilles. I mean, if he's like some kind of freak of nature, young dude, and he looks really good, and everything looks 100, close to 100%, maybe at the end of the season,
There's a
maybe.
there's a big difference between able to go and ready to go.
Right to
He
go.
may be able to go in October, November, but ready to go? Nah, shelf him. Put him on the shelf this year. Ready to go means that you went through training camp. You're in all the defensive meetings. You're practicing it on the practice field without training camp, without preseason, without any practice to then throw him into the fire on an NFL field as a rookie coming off an injury where
It would
that's
be.
going to be a concern.
It would
You
be.
got to you got to get a mental head wrapped around an injury too. They'll tell you even Jerry Rice when he bust up his knee his first time out on the field, he was a little he was nervous. He was gentle with it. To ask him to perform at that kind of caliber, where it would be a benefit to the team, as opposed to the detriment you could do not only to his physical but his mental. We saw what happened with Aguilar. Um, I would shelf him the entire year. I don't want to see him on the field this year at all. At all. Steven Sotera at Steven Sotera. Who? This is a great question too. Who is at fault for the letdown after week 3? Was it the bye week? Was it Lane Johnson? Was it Carson Wentz? Was it Doug Peterson? Or was it Jim Schwartz?
It was Lane Johnson. I mean, you look at the after he left, the Eagles didn't score more than like 27 points after he left. It was you don't realize how important it is to have that kind of confidence in your right tackle, especially as a rookie quarterback. And you don't have that stability on your offensive line on your right hand side. It was detrimental what he did to this team. Lane
Yeah.
Johnson.
Uh, Out of all of those, everybody deserves their fair share of blame. No one is exempt from having playing their part in the downfall after week 3. I think the bye week it's a weak excuse. Oh, we had an early bye, so we lost momentum. Bullshit. I mean, it's no, no. There's other teams out there with a week 4 bye. It doesn't do a goddamn thing to them. Um, I'm I'm actually going to disagree with you a little bit. I think Lane gets too much blame. To be honest with you, I think Lane gets a little bit too much of the blame. The Eagles' offensive line, especially in the interior, was suspect before that. They were having trouble before that. I agree with you. The first 3 games, the Eagles' offense looked good, but then I turned into it and I look at okay after the bye week, and again, not blaming the bye week. I feel like 2 things that aren't on this list are the lack of receiver talent and the lack of defensive backs, which falls a lot on Wentz because you could see Wentz as the season progressed, he looked less comfortable and tried to force more things. Thinks he was trying to force more things because the receivers flat out couldn't get open and the running backs couldn't find an open lane because the safeties were cheating in. I almost want to say the Eagles got figured out a little bit. Everybody, including Chip Kelly, looks good when there's no tape on you. But as soon as you start to get some tape on you, that's when NFL teams start figuring you out, figuring out your tendencies, figuring out your strengths, and figuring out your weaknesses. So I put a little bit on Wentz. I don't blame him. He's a rookie, but he has to play better than he did last year. This year, he has to
You
take a
put a little
giant
blame
leap
on
forward.
put a little blame on the receivers too. There's
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing that's missing from the. He had to be smarter with the ball, but he was kind of hand tied because his receivers stink. Jim Schwartz is on this list, but do I blame Schwartz? When you're dealing with those defensive backs, I mean, how much you can't be blitzing guys because that's going to leave more guys. You know what I mean? He was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that's going to take a while to figure out. And then Doug Peterson, flat out, Doug Peterson just has to stop putting the ball in Carson Wentz's hands 50, 60 times a game, even out the game plan. I mean, a lot of that falls on Doug as well. I think the bye week has something to play with it. I think it gets blamed way too much. And honestly, I think Lane Johnson, as much as, absolutely watching the right side and having a stone corner there, a steady rock there like a John Runyon is something we often overlook and take for granted. I always think that Lane gets too much of the blame.
Well,
A little too much.
you think about it as a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Think about being, yeah, you're looking at your right side and you're like, there is a fifth round rookie protecting me right now.
No, yeah, yeah.
You,
I get
you don't feel you can't feel comfortable. You can't,
No,
especially after he got his jersey shredded off his back.
that's true. That's true. Last one, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up. So this is the one that puts the bow on it. Your boy underscore Joey K. Would you rather start Mills and Douglas, Rasul Douglas, at cornerback, and let them grow together as a tandem, or start other guy veterans?
I feel like if your rookies or if your rookies are showing enough that they are even with a veteran, you start the rookie, you start the future now. I feel like Mills, we already feel like he's going to start already. I would definitely rock with Russell Douglas and Jalen Mills.
I,
Just
I
do it.
I I agree with you. The optimal situation would be exactly what happened with Lito Shepard and Sheldon Brown. I mean, you had Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor there for a year or two. I can't remember if it was a year or two, but you basically had two very quality veterans ahead of you to learn from. And then when it was your time to be the starters, you were seasoned a little bit. You had a little bit of time in. You had a little bit of seasoning. But with that being said, I don't want Patrick Robinson back there. I just don't. I don't even think he makes the team, to be honest with you. He stinks. He stinks on ice. Jalen Mills has the confidence of even last year as a rookie that a seventh round pick should not have, but he does. So I like that about him. Mentally, he is about as tough as they come. And everything that I hear from Rasul Douglas is that his technique is outstanding. He might have timed a little slow at the combine, but as far as technique, using the sidelines, putting your hands on a guy, arm bars, and stuff like that, he's going to go through it. Those two are going to go through their lumps. They're going to go through their lumps. But I don't want to see the Eagles reach out and sign Darrell fucking Revis and on one knee to spare Razul and to spare Jalen Mills and put Patrick Robinson back there. I'd rather see these two guys take their lumps, understand that they're going to take their lumps. We can't kill them during the season when they fuck up. They're, Jalen Mills, second year, seventh round draft pick. Razul's going to be a rookie, but I'd rather see those two kind of grow together and then start something, like you said, start the future now.
And then
Well, that right.
Sidney Jones
And
next year.
Sidney Jones next year.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. Ooh, I love it. Can you imagine that? Like, if Sidney Jones works out the way we all think he's going to, and if he lives up to that top 15 pick status he had before the unfortunate pro day Achilles injury, can you imagine that defensive backfield? Like, you got Malcolm Jenkins, you got McLeod. Okay, they're the safeties, but all of a sudden you're looking at Sidney Jones, Jalen Mills, probably in the slot, and Rasul Douglas. That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, well, that wraps up the Twitter questions. I hope you enjoyed this. We appreciate everybody chiming in on Twitter. Follow us at Fourth and Jawn, at Eagle Session over there, Mr. Meme Machine himself, and of course me at the Mighty E-Rock. This is the Fourth and Jawn channel, so please hit that subscribe button for more content, not only for your boys Gail and E-Rock here, but from the writers as well. Gail, go ahead.
Oh, one more thing. I believe Philly's question: who has the shinier head, me or E-Rock?
I'm not taking off my hat. I'm not doing it.
Right here, I got the
Uh,
shiniest head.
you got the shiny head. I will bow down to you for the Mr. Clean shave, looking sexy over there, and I'll just bow down to you, and we'll leave it at that. We'll
I'm
leave it at
proud of
that.
my shiny.
Thank you,
I'm proud.
thank you. I bleed Philly.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, I will not forget this. I have a bad short term memory from years of. Well, we'll not get into that, but I have a very good long term memory. So trust me, I will get you back come football season when we go live back in New Media Studios again, and Fourth and Jawn kicks off for the season. So until then, let's go Birds, and we will see you right back here on this Fourth and Jawn channel with another The Off Season webcast.